Laurent and TAG Heuer collection has completely changed. The collection has gone loud. 8 years ago, we stood down there and compared the Calibre 11 McQueen to the Calibre 12. 4 years ago, out on the boat, we compared the Dark Knight to the Calibre 11 McQueen. And this year, we are taking the whole collection from lowest price to highest price. And we're making the Monaco make sense. Let's go. The gloves are off, they soon have to be on. Laurent, welcome to your life.
Thank you very much for having me. So as you mentioned, what we'll be discussing today is the entire Monaco lineup that we're so privileged to have with us this afternoon in Monaco, straight from the TAG Heuer ship, right in time for the Monaco Grand Prix.
It's all happening. This is exactly what I love to do. We throw someone in the deep end who didn't even know he was going to be in a video.
There you go.
I was meant to be doing it by myself. The concept is quite ambitious, but you need this video. I need this video. We need to know the new families of the Monaco. I need to know the prices. I need to know where we enter. I need to know where we grail and exit. It's all here. Stand by. This video will leave you with crystal clarity on the families in the Monaco, the pricing, and also your opportunity. Where are you coming in at in this new family? Because this watch is iconic. It has that power. I've been talking about this watch since, Marcus, 8 years. We've been coming to Monaco to talk about it. So this is a long narrative, but we have the man to help us begin. Now, I'm going to throw you in even deeper water than where you were.
Fair enough. Let's
because
go.
I don't want to begin on the table. We have to begin with what we'll call the heritage Monacos.
Of course.
Which are the Sellita and Dubois-Depraz module movement Monacos.
Yep.
That are probably the ones that are in your mind, such as, but not limited to, Calibre 11 McQueen.
Of course.
Golf Racing. The racing editions in
Racing Blue, Racing Green,
yes.
More recently as well the stopwatch edition, which came out during the Grand Prix last year. We're here right on this ship as well. And so all those pieces are, for the most part, limited editions, and they'll basically be, as soon as sold out, coming out of the catalog, and then this is where this steps in.
So very expertly points it back to the new stuff. Putting the heritage Monacos aside, that's a little treasure hunt for you, and whatever's left is left, and they will not be replaced, correct?
Exactly.
No more Sellita-based Calibre 11s. We move on to the new entry-level Monaco. Tell me the price, show me what you got.
Absolutely. So here, a brand new, I would say, family of chronograph that we introduced a couple of months back at Watches and Wonders in April with 3 new timepieces. Where we start off is obviously, as you mentioned it, right with the classical version, which is the blue dial version inaugurated by Steve McQueen all the way back in 1971 with the movie Le Mans. Now, with a brand new case design, brand new titanium case at that, so much more lightweight, a brand new movement, as you rightfully pointed it out. So this time, an in-house movement, which we call the TH20-11. So part of that in-house Calibre family, which is our in-house chronograph movement, featuring, rightfully so, still the crown on the left.
So a little point, and unusually, I'm deep in the numbers, and I'm right with Laurent. The TH20 is the right-hand crown models, and the TH20-11 is when the crown's been switched over to honor that legacy. Now, you might be asking yourself, hang on, brands talking about in-house movements, are we legit here? Is this happening? This is an evolution of the Heuer 02 movement.
Absolutely.
So take it away. But I'm giving you a tick for this being a legitimate in-house movement.
These are the main 2 key characteristics indeed, from the switch to Heuer 02 to the base of TH20, which be, of course, the 80 hours of power reserved, that bidirectional winding as opposed to the unidirectional winding before that. And of course, we decided to switch up the aesthetics of the movement when introducing that TH20 base with our signature shield shape oscillating weight at that, changing as well a few of the look of the bridges featuring those Geneva stripes.
Yeah. Now, I remember sitting in your office when you said, Andrew, we're about to do something dramatic with the Monaco. I need your complete honest thoughts. My honest thoughts at the time haven't changed until now, which is that these watches, while they depart from the McQueen that you have in your mind, that little nugget of a case that never sat quite right on my wrist, so many, you just have to remain open-minded until you've tried this watch on, because the specs don't tell the story. It's one of these things where I often say the specs tell the story, the numbers don't lie. In the case of the new TH20 based Monacos, they do, because you will find that this, despite being, because the dimensions are, the contrast is interesting.
They're ever so slightly bigger, strictly speaking, if you look at the, key facts and figures, because the outgoing model, which is the Solita-based one, is 39 millimeters across. These new models, be it the blue, the green, or the two-tone version with the solid pink gold accents, are 39.4, strictly speaking, so ever so slightly bigger, but they actually wear much better on the wrist. Why is that so? Because the entire case has been redesigned from scratch, obviously using as a base the piece from 69, back to the roots in a sense. That was really the design approach to it, is we don't make the current and outgoing one evolve, we scratch it over, we go back to the roots of the project, all the way back to 69, and we rework off of that as a base to make it as wearable as possible, because one of, I would say, the key figures is that it's sharper, it's more dynamic, it's modern. You'll notice that we have a completely, I would say, ever so slightly domed case back so that it sits much better on the wrist as well. And as I mentioned, one of the key factors as well is that now, because we knew it might feel a little bit clunky on the wrist previously, now the case being reworked, the focus was on ergonomics. We want it to feel perfect on the wrist, to sit comfortably on the wrist, and the fact that it's titanium as well shaves off a third of the weight of what it previously was.
So way less heavy. The center of gravity of the watch feels lower to me. And my issue with the Calibre 11, I loved everything about it. I loved the desaturated matte blue dial. I loved its awkwardness, because that was kind of the point. But the actual contact point of the case was so small. Whereas this really has massively improved wrist comfort. In this mix, we also have, is this the Vegas edition in pink?
Exactly. So this is a piece which came out a year and a half ago for the Vegas Grand Prix edition. So this is still part of the TH20 family, except that no longer TH20-11, but -00 to be very specific, which is the right crown model. Absolutely. Here, part of the portfolio within the Monaco collection, which is the Openworked dial versions that we have, which feature obviously a similar type of movement, same key specs as you mentioned, 80 hours of power reserve, shield-shaped oscillating weight, and so on. But here with the crown on the right for a bit more of a vibrant, youthful, pop, forward look.
Now, pricing-wise, get the cash register sound ready, Marcus. We have 8.
So CHF, so Swiss francs, we would be talking 8.8 for either the blue or the green. For the here grade 2 titanium DLC coated version with that skeletonized piece, we're talking 11,000 Swiss francs. And then if we move on to the last piece of the 3 for the 2011, we are talking 12,300.
Okay. So again, your choices here are crown on the left or crown on the right. It's cool to me that this is in modern circulation. Like, you can get this watch. Because when this came out as a Vegas edition, I was like, why would TAG do such a hot colorway as a limited or regionally restricted, but you can get it. So this is taking us from 8.5 up to
12,300.
12,300. Great. We move on to Russell P. Sheldrake, who goes and visits Carol Kasapi at the manufacturer and introduces the world to the Evergraph, which I reread some comments today, and the excitement in the comments and the fact that some people really picked up on how big a step this is pleased me, because again, people are so quick in this internet world to judge things and just immediately say that's a crazy price, because we've jumped in price dramatically. We've almost doubled. We're at 28,000.
So
US,
Swiss francs, we would be talking 23.
23. Now, some of the reasons for those changes, the main reason is we have a dramatically different movement. We move from the TH20 as a base to a Vaucher-based movement. And Vaucher, if you don't know, are a movement manufacturer that work with brands such as Parmigiani Fleurier, such as Hermes. They are really regarded as, if you're going to work with a movement manufacturer on something special, this is the place. And Carol would only work with the best.
Absolutely.
What we also see immediately that is a nice through line for TAG is a carbon hairspring.
Absolutely.
So I've given a little bit of the game away, but the Evergraph, what does that represent to you in this mix, and how do you justify that? We have a grand
of course,
canyon
the jump
between
between the two. So the Evergraph really, I would say, symbolizes a huge chapter in what we like to call at TAG Heuer avant-garde horlogerie. So really our take on high-end watchmaking. Of course, here talking about a price point of 23,000 Swiss francs. That timepiece is for us all about innovation. It really embarks two key innovations that we've been working on back at the manufacturer, back at the TAG Heuer lab for roughly the past 10 years. First, as you rightfully put it, the brand new, what we call TAG Heuer carbon spring. A fully carbon hairspring within that timepiece, of course, resistant to shocks, changes in temperature, magnetism, so offering really much more chronometric stability and accuracy when it comes to that timepiece. And second off, we're talking a bit about a chronograph revolution. So obviously everyone is familiar with chronograph, which are cam-based, column wind-based. Here, I would say, steer away from those two solutions and rely on a new one, which is what we call a compliant mechanism. Compliant not in the legal sense of the term, of course, but in the engineering sense of the term, meaning that we are talking about flexible components within the caliber for the chronograph specifically. So basically, blades jumping from one position to the next. If you picture a business card, and you have a snap one direction and the other. What it allows us to do is reduce the amount of points of friction within the movement and have something which is much more longer lasting in essence. Hence the name of the watch itself, the Evergraph, the everlasting chronograph. So something more precise, more durable, and which will last you forever with that brand new chronograph mechanism.
So Laurent completely gave away that he is a product guy. He is a technical high horology guy. I am not. I am a how does it feel in my hands guy. The feel of this chronograph is wild. Now that I'm holding this watch and now that I'm activating it, it has a sort of a soft motion on the engage. The stop is crisp, but the snap is wild, as in the return button has, the haptics are really different on both buttons. So there's been a lot of thought put into the haptics, which is what we call, I suppose, the in-hand feel of the activations.
Of course, because it was not only a matter of performance, but also the way it feels for the user. It was, sure, all about innovation, but client-centric innovation. Because if we just do firsts for the sake of firsts, there's sort of no point to it. It's a marketing gimmick in a sense. So what we're willing to do is really put the client at the center of it all, and have something that feels great when worn and when activated. Yeah. So a signature touch, a signature sound, something that feels sharp, crisp, and you can almost feel those blades jumping from one position to the next.
Yeah. This is cool. You must try the Evergraph in person. DLC version here, both of them with the crown on the left. Chronographs is such a core part of the TAG Heuer brand. I can see why this becomes an area for innovation, I guess.
Of course.
And now we have what we're here to launch in Monaco, which is just the strangest idea. And yet it was always going to happen. Now I think about it. Like if I think about those early Louis Vuitton spin time models, they were always big cases.
Yep.
They were always shaped cases, as in that there were atrium style cases that were
Absolutely.
quite large. This was the perfect frame for a spin time. What? Just tell me everything.
So, of course, as you rightfully put it, brand new timepiece, TAG Heuer Monaco Speed 12, as we call it, featuring the iconic spin time movement from La Fabrique du Temps Louis Vuitton. Here, a collaboration project which was born quite naturally in between, our two entities.
Yes. It was always going to happen.
Because we both like to think very much, outside of comfort zone. It's always a matter of how do we get creative? And really the spin time proved to be the perfect platform onto which we could actually express our racing DNA because, thankfully 12 cubes that rotate, here 12 pistons.
12 pistons, yeah.
It's the most beautiful form of a car engine that could be. So very much a Monaco that is no longer a chronograph, which is a time-only wristwatch, but that really pays tribute to the 12-cylinder engine, the most beautiful form of an engine that can be.
So I'm playing with it now as Laurent talks, and I have to say, it snaps so fast, and this was always the thing that I would drill either Michel Navas or Enrico Barbacini on, which is the power it takes to get that crisp a flick. It's almost imperceptible to the human eye. It looks like the numbers jumping from one piston to the next. It's really cool. But you have this super simple time display. You have the minutes on the inner circle, and then you have the snap of the pistons changing numbers as the time progresses. And then on the back, what's interesting here is that the rotor has been sort of shrunk to this inner dial size that allows the pistons to sort of be in the air. I love it. It's not cheap, and it shouldn't be, because no spin times are. I've often looked on Chrono24 thinking, one day I'm going to get a spin time. I'm not getting a spin time right now. We've gone from 23 to...
now 70 for the Speed 12. So here we're talking about yet a Monaco, which is still in grade 5 titanium. So as we've talked with 2011, TH80, and now TH84, as we call it, retaining that same characteristic shape for the Monaco, but obviously an extraordinary movement, as you mentioned it, invented and patented by those two genius watchmakers that are Michel and Enrico.
Absolutely. And a really interesting one, a quirky one, because it's a Monaco that's not a chronograph, which isn't going to matter when you're showing your friends at a dinner party saying, you might think this isn't a chronograph, this is way cool, check this out. But now we move to the really deep end of the pool and the deep end of the pocket. These are the split seconds, which Carol Kasapi in her Russell video says they are the queen of complications. What models do we have here, and where is our starting price?
So here we're lucky enough to pretty much have the entire lineup of what the split second chronographs are for Monaco. So we start off with the red and the blue versions, which came out originally at Watches and Wonder 2024. So about 2 years ago now. That was very much, I would say, the first chapter back into very high-end watchmaking for TAG Heuer. This is where we say that we wrote sort of the first chapter of avant-garde horlogerie before we actually came with the Evergraph this year. So now first Calibre, second Calibre as part of that high-end family. Now with the Speed 12 being the third. First two iterations, which also introduced, as you'll have seen, that new case design for the Monaco family. So everything sort of trickled down from the split second onto the regular chronograph and the Evergraph. Really, we started at the top and then it sort of infused the rest of the collection. Of course, a bit of a special one at that, as you mentioned, the most complex form of what a chronograph can be, with that additional, obviously, second hand, which is hidden at 12, right at the middle, that added pusher at 9 o'clock, echoing as well the original positioning of the crown of the Monaco, as can be found on the original piece and also the rest of the collection. But here, a casing which is 50% titanium, 50% sapphire, because sure, we can see there is sapphire at the front, but there's also so much sapphire at the back, with that entire case back being made out of one single block of sapphire. And then of course, when we trigger it into motion, we get that chronograph started, we measure our first time interval by pressing at 9 o'clock, we have that red hand stopping, that silver hand that keeps on going in its track, and then second time interval, we press at 2, and by pressing back at 9 once more, we catch up, rattrapante in French, as we call it, we catch up immediately. So not only the most beautiful form of a chronograph, but also one that ties in beautifully with the world of racing, Yeah. As we can see the F1 drivers crossing the finish line, this is exactly what it's all about,
Yeah. And the way that the two hands are interleaved so perfectly, the precision in this piece is just... it's so beyond to try and comprehend the mechanics. Aesthetically, which is where I come back in, check out this case back. I remember Marcus and I shot the first one and we were absolutely losing our minds at this widescreen, sort of frameless case back. It just, the way that it not only has an open case back for the rotor path, it also extends right to the edges of the case, and it has these facets in the sapphire as well, which it's just, you could wear it that way. There's an argument for wearing it that way.
We've actually had a client requesting, interchangeable straps so you could wear it upside down if we wanted to. But no, it's a beautiful piece of sapphire. Obviously, it's so large, so hard to manufacture. As you've rightfully said so, it's ever so slightly domed, so it sits perfectly on the wrist. It's also carved from within to make room for the oscillating weight. So the oscillating weight doesn't sit within the titanium case band, it actually sits within that sapphire back.
Yes.
Also plays a bit of a visual trick, because if you look at it from the side, it completely vanishes, and the piece feels so much thinner than it actually is, you know?
Yeah.
So definitely a beautiful piece of sapphire on that watch.
So that was a big flex. That was a moment the Monaco became the TAG flex. And if you're looking to choose a watch from the broader TAG Heuer collection that is the flex, it's a Monaco. And they're our first two, but then things get kind of even wilder.
Absolutely.
What is going on with this? It looks crystallized. It looks like almost like carbon.
What we're talking about here is basically the little sister of the first two we just talked about. A piece that came out precisely a year ago at the Monaco GP 2025 in a case which is made out of what we call TH titanium. So TAG Heuer titanium. We're simple with the names, but very complex with the materials we talk about. Here, what we have, still titanium, but of course something which has been completely reworked in the TAG Heuer lab.
Yeah.
So we submit that titanium alloy to, you know, sudden changes in very high temperatures, and what it triggers is an organic reaction of the metal itself. So all those little facets you see are not a coating that is applied on top. The organic reaction enlarges the atomic structure of the titanium, and it's brought back up all the way to the surface for you to enjoy. So it's really the metal revealing its true nature in a sense. And so as much as we can control the size of those little facets, we can never control their exact locations from one to the next.
Yeah.
So every single piece, as we manufacture them, will always be ever so slightly different from its sister.
So we really have, I mean, if you're going to spend, 106 figures on a Monaco.
So we're talking 135 CHF for the first two iterations, red and blue. We're talking for the TH titanium version, 145.
145, so extra 10 for that. You know, you may as well go full crazy. And then we get to the Air.
Absolutely. So Monaco split second Air. Here, a brand new take, obviously still retaining the key signature codes of what makes a Monaco, but a wild take on it.
Yeah. It looks like it's got a speaker inside because it has like a speaker grill pattern on the case. Is that to reduce material and make it lighter?
So actually the gist behind this timepiece, it's a bit of a wild one, is our lead designer on the Monaco collection really. It all started off with a sketch, basically. He felt like he turned the Monaco into a hypercar that came out just out of a wind tunnel that was built for speed and aerodynamism. And, well, the management ended up finding that sketch and thought, okay, we need to develop that and make it an actual watch. However, when we approached the guys at the lab and the manufacturer, they told us, yeah, I mean, the case design, this is just, there's no way we can make it.
Man.
This is no way we can make it happen.
Yeah.
By a little bit of back and forth, a little bit of digging, we found a way to make it happen, but that meant turning the machining process of the case really upside down. So whereas for all the pieces we've seen so far, you know, we use machining, milling, and we start from a bigger block of metal to work our way down. Here, that's the exact opposite. So we start with what is literally titanium powder, which we fuse layer by layer.
It almost looks
to
like it's
build
3D,
that entire case.
Like it's
that is very
3D
much it.
printing.
That is very much it. So this is what we called selective laser melting, to be very technical, which is a very specific type of actually 3D printing.
That's crazy.
So that entire titanium case is 3D printed to be able to create those wild shapes that you see all over the case.
This is the first time I've ever held this watch in my hand, and I have to say, it's just such a feast. Like, you've got this honeycomb pattern on the side, which I imagine is only really possible when you use this technique. Otherwise, this would be quite difficult to engrave in such tight spaces. You've got these bridges and stripes that are appearing, and they're actually, they're structural, and they're not just carved out of the original block. You can see that this has been constructed in a totally different way. I'm scared of the price. I'm terrified of the price.
Here we're talking 150.
Okay.
You know, it's a little jump, but
okay. Look, if I'm at 130 already, I mean, come on, I'm in touch. These are so great in the hand, and they're so wild to think about until you get them in the hand. I don't know if it's even possible for you watching to get one in the hand. If you had 150K burning a hole in your pocket, you could probably get one in your hand. But this is the cool thing about, and this is why these videos are perhaps more interesting than they might appear on the surface, which is that you get to see someone in real time process what I'm being told. Laurent, where's your heart on the table? Like we've had a lot of mathematical and material genius at this end. We've had evolution and I would say ergonomics and customer-centric design at this end. We've had, I think, a really, I would say, this is just wild and absolutely nonsensical, and that's my favorite.
Yeah.
And then we've had the Evergraph, which is truly for the chronograph geeks. Where's your heart in this? Where are you most proud of what your brand has done?
I mean, being a Monaco guy, having always been a Monaco guy ever since I joined the company, you know, the project I most worked on would definitely be the Evergraph. You know, this is, I think I speak for all the teams back in Switzerland as well. This is our pride and joy for sure, because, you know, other brands do chronographs, other brands do split-second chronographs. The Evergraph is sort of, in a sense, truly ours. This is not only patented for the TH carbon spring with our carbon oscillator, it's also a chronograph mechanism we've patented as well. And I think this has been 10 years in the making, you know, for that watch. And we're so proud to finally be able to launch it for the world to enjoy. And I think it also marks a very important step for the brand as a whole, being able to introduce what is quite literally a new way to talk about a chronograph, you know, with those flexible components. There is going to be a before and after Evergraph, the way we look at it. It really is a first for the industry, a first for the brand, and a very important chapter in the history of the brand.
You should wear one. Why don't you wear one?
There are so few of them around, so, you know, I stick with the good old chronograph. You know, the Monaco is seen as an iconic timepiece, but I guess some people think, you know, a square watch is not for me. It's not my thing. I would highly encourage all of your viewers to actually go in a TAG store and just try one on for yourself, especially with that brand new generation we've seen across all price points with that new case design. You know, focus on ergonomics and wearability was the name of the game for us with all of those new models we've introduced over the last couple of years. Have a go at it, see why it became so iconic, and just make your own opinion with one on the wrist.
And don't have an opinion until you do, because I can tell you the story has changed here. So we closed the loop. This is our third Monaco video, definitely our most comprehensive. Over to you. Are you in the market for a Monaco? And if so, where are you joining the story? What are your attachments to it? Is it something that you want to stay the same as it always was, or are you going to let this thing fly and evolve? I'm turned around. I'm excited that there's a new chapter and that some of those issues that I had with my Calibre 11 have been addressed. Let's get in the comments and see. Laurent, thank you.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
See you on the next video. Like, subscribe, all that stuff. Monaco, baby.